Can I ask Leigh Matthews a question before we move on to the lethal injection?
Absolutely, Caro.
Speaking of lethal, can we just listen to what Leigh said on 3AW pre-game this time last week?
As a coach, I wouldn't be going to Essendon. If you desperately want a job, you go for it, right? But anyone who's got choices ain't going to Essendon. To me, from the outside, I mean, I don't know the Essendon people as well, that well. I'm only looking from afar. But I'd have no confidence to coach under that regime.
Strong as ever, Leigh, on 3AW football. Now, we now know that the Essendon CEO took umbrage with your comments and sent some form of transcript or copy of them to the AFL and asked what action they would take. The AFL said, look, this is a club-to-club issue. And then Andrew Welsh called your chairman, and I'm asking you now as a Brisbane director, and took umbrage too with the fact that you as a Brisbane director had made those comments about his football club. My understanding is that Andrew Wellington back to you and basically said, you said it as a media commentator, they're not the views of the Brisbane board. Were you surprised at Essendon's response?
Yeah, got to say I'm surprised at the response. I mean, I guess you wear two hats. I mean, I've got the hat of when I'm on 3AW, I'm not speaking on behalf of the Brisbane Lions, never have been. I've been sort of basically doing the board for a dozen years and on 3AW for about 15. I know people like to put the two things together, but I don't put the two things together, put it that way. So whatever comments I make on 3AW have got nothing to do with the Brisbane Lions or helping out as a director on the Brisbane Lions. But certainly the Brisbane Lions feel that's the situation. And I guess that was effectively the response. I only found out myself when Andrew Wellington called me just to let me know, heads up, got the call. And I think the CEO, Sam Graham, also got the call. But we, as I do, think it's the two things just aren't related.
So you broke the story earlier in the week, Caro. Essendon didn't just raise their concerns with the Lions. They actually took their issues to headquarters as well.
Initially, the CEO, Tim Roberts, I think spoke to someone senior at the AFL, and he was referred back to Brisbane.
You staggered by that, Leigh, that they went to headquarters first?
Let everyone make their own judgment on that question.
It was strong. It was scathing of the Essendon process. Go on, Leigh.
I shouldn't joke about it. I'm still a life member of the AFL. I'm still in the Hall of Fame. I'm still on the board of the Lions. So really, it's a bit of a kerfuffle over nothing. As you know, we were having a discussion about the three clubs that had been looking for coaches and how much I thought Brendan Gale was a really good operator. I know that you know that because he's been around a long time. And Carlton, I said the same about Graham Wright and Chris Davies. Then we got an Essendon, who I know Andrew Welsh a little bit. One of the things that bemuses me a little bit is, like, I do know Andrew Welsh personally. We worked on Channel 7, a decade ago. I mean, my phone, everyone in the footy industry knows my phone number. If you've got a problem, they can ring me.
Ring you.
Yeah, I mean, I know that this isn't the first time that, your hats have been blurred, and there have been times you've had to, make comments about comments you've made on 3AW.
No, it doesn't happen often at all. It did happen once, and you must be referring to, there was one situation well over a decade ago now where I was at a lunch somewhere, and I don't think it was an AW lunch, but it was a lunch. And there was a comment about the Suns, and I must have made some comment. I'm not sure whether South East Queensland needs a second AFL club, something basic as that. But I got a call the following morning from Gillon McLaughlin. And at the time, I was deputy chairman of the Lions, actually. And he said, you shouldn't be saying stuff like that if you're like deputy chairman of the Lions. So I took him on board and I resigned as deputy chairman.
Yeah.
That's right, I remember that.
But that's the only other time, Caro, that I can recall. Is there another one that you're aware of that I'm not thinking of?
No, I thought a couple of times maybe you were reminded by either Greg Swan or Andrew Wellington, but maybe I've got that information
wrong.
wrong.
That is correctly incorrect. No, I have never been.
They
accept that I am. I'm a paid media. Forget about the paid part, but I'm a professional, if you call it that, media commentator I'll give my opinions, and you don't have to agree with them, but they're my opinions. They're nothing to do with the Brisbane Lions.
And long may
don't we love
it continue. Long may it continue. Stephen Beers, our GM, was in the box before. I think he's got a fresh contract for you, Lee. Now, you can put on either your Brisbane Lions scarf or your 3AW hat. It was one version of the Leigh Matthews Cup last night.
Yes.
How impressed were you with your Lions in smashing your old club, the Hawks? And it was a smashing any way you looked at it.
So I'll take my Hawthorn cap off, I'll take my Collingwood cap off, I'll take my Lions cap off and put my AW cap on. No, I was at the game. I mean, it's funny footy. I mean, you know, when the Lions had a really bad game last week, got beaten by 70-odd points by Carlton, and then this week they were the exact opposite. And Chris Fagan, I thought, in the post-match press conference was asked, how did that happen? And he made a really unique comment, because they're human. They're not robots. So players' form varies from week to week, and you couldn't get a greater variation of the Lions like 6 days ago or last Saturday night against Carlton, and again last night against Hawthorn. And Hawthorn were it's a bit like you could say, just look at two players. I reckon Kai Lohmann had a career best game for the Lions. I thought Will Day had a career worst. He looked like he was exhausted after the first quarter. You know, so Hawthorn played poorly, Lions played well, so you have a big margin. But it doesn't mean that it's going to happen next week. It just means what happened last night.
Bit scary as well when you contemplate that still Hugh McCluggage, Kitty Coleman and Ty Gallop are to be re-added to that 23.
And also, Lee, you know, last week was really disappointing against Carlton, particularly because the top four spot could have been cemented, but they had won 7 in a row. They'd responded after some, you know, really poor games earlier in the year, and obviously injuries had been instrumental. It is extraordinary that when you think that they lost by less than a goal to Collingwood 3 grand finals ago, that they're going to be up and about again, yet again. After, I mean, this sort of ambition, I think you all, well, I'm not sure about you, but I'm sure Chris Fagan and Andrew Wellington and Greg Swan started, which we want to be like Geelong, we want to be like Sydney and just always be up and about, up there somewhere. Chris Fagan has delivered in spades, hasn't he? And the playing group.
Absolutely. Well, the last 8 years, I mean, so Chris Fagan, this is his 10th year, but his first 2 years, the club was stuck down the bottom of the ladder, but then in that third year, they made finals, and they've been up around the top 4 for 8 years. And in Chris Fagan's role, he's done an outstanding job, but there's so many other individuals in the club, in list management, conditioning, assistant coaches. I mean, there's a whole lot of people in a modern football club now. And it was interesting when the Tasmanian people, I mean, they've got some people behind the scenes clearly that we don't sort of know about so much. But Brett, the CEO, senior coach, and now the development manager. So they've identified that development role is critical in a footy club, which really anyone in a footy club knows that. You've got to develop your players. And the Lions list management, player development, all the things you've got to do as a footy operation, they've done an outstanding job over the last eight years or so.
Imitation is the best form of flattery. Chris Fagan drew alongside your record last night, Lee. 237 games.
He's broken it. I'm hurt.
Well, he's broken it for wins.
One
more win.
Yeah, up until last night, we coached. He's equalled the. I think I coached 435 or something like that. But our win loss ratio was exactly the same leading into last night. But now that they won, he's won one more than me, so he can stay at the coffees from now on.
Well, he's got 2 flags. You've got 3, Lee.
You'll have to shout the next bottle of red. On that, it is a good segue at 12 minutes to 1 on the White Glove Mover clock. It is time for the lethal injection.
Oh, the post is broken. Matthews hit it.
The lethal
Talk about a He-Man.
injection.
Well, I hate to get on here and tell another club what to do because you get in trouble doing that. But I want to talk about the Fremantle situation. I mean, there's very rarely a club has earned the right. Like, with 3 games to go, they're virtually entrenched on the top of the ladder. They can lose 3 games and they'd probably still stay there. Now, what the non-Melbourne clubs have to do is come to the MCG on grand final day and play well to win a premiership. I mean, that goes without saying. So I would have thought if they aren't doing this, I reckon this is what Fremantle should have done this weekend, right? So, okay, you're going to prepare for Melbourne, the Melbourne Football Club, the same as you're going to prepare for whoever your grand final opponent might be. But there's a couple of grand final uniques that you can practice, I reckon, this weekend. Like, for instance, you have to come to Melbourne on the Thursday to play Saturday afternoon, because this is a Saturday afternoon game against Melbourne, so it's kind of similar. So if they haven't already organised a charter flight, they should have had the charter flight and worked out how a family coming over. Because the other grand final unique is players and kids tend to come to the game when they probably wouldn't be here today. So work out how you're going to do that and practice it. If you're going to have a charter flight where you have the players and their families on the same flight, if it was a grand final, we'll do it for this week to get your systems in place. And usually you can have a run at the MCG on the Friday. I mean, the grand final parade, you can't replicate that. But they might, I don't know whether they would have let them on yesterday, but anyway, try and work out where would we train. We come over Thursday afternoon, we do the grand final parade, we know where the kids and the wives and the families are all going to be, and we know we're going to do the grand final parade sort of late in the morning on that Friday. So usually there's a bit of a training one after it. But I just think they've earned the right to be thinking a little bit ahead rather than just towards today's opponent, which is what footy clubs live and die by, really. I think there are a few things that are grand finals unique, and there's probably a few others I haven't thought of. Yeah, practice them, put them in place, know your systems, so don't just make it hit between the eyes on grand final weekend if you make it.
My memory, Bruce and Leigh, is
Dockers did train here yesterday.
They did, and my memory is that Chris Fagan, after their first grand final, which they lost by less than a goal to Collingwood, learnt a lot from that whole experience. He went to the AFL. In fact, he wrote a document to the AFL about soft cap relief for non-Victorian clubs, the money that it cost, the work toll it took on Brisbane Lions staff trying to get people to Melbourne for the big game. And the following year, when they played Sydney, Leigh, my memory is that I think Brisbane came to town Monday or Tuesday and spent the whole week in Melbourne and felt that was a much better way of doing it. And the AFL, in fact, from that time on, guaranteed clubs $50,000, I think, extra into their soft cap, or maybe more, if they made the grand final.
Well, it's learning by your experience, isn't it? Which is what I don't think they came that early in the week, but they might have come Wednesday even instead of the Thursday in the second, and how they handled the grand final parade. I mean, this is the thing. If you've got the chance to practice it, great. The best is what happened to the Lions. You've experienced the grand final week. Well, okay, what would we do to get us on the field to play the best? And you learn by experiences, and that's why I was talking about Fremantle Day. Well, you've got the experience of playing Saturday afternoon in Melbourne, so use it to be better prepared if you get to the grand final.
I can feel a Simon Garlick phone call to you, Leigh, to pick your brain further as soon as you get off air this afternoon, or maybe post-match.
But will they allow Wharfie time on grand final day if they make it? They're still looking at that, the AFL.
Well, they played Country Road for Charlie Cameron after his goals.
Well, the top seed gets the choice, and Geelong wanted the songs last year, and so when Geelong got the go-ahead, the AFL said yes to Brisbane as well.
Wait, but just before we go ahead, so the top seed gets a chance to do some things that they normally do on their home game on grand final day. That's the way it works.
So Richmond, for example, I think when they played Geelong up at the Gabba in the COVID year, they wanted the drums. And because they were allowed the drums as the team that had finished higher on the ladder, I think they finished higher on the ladder, Geelong were given stuff. Brisbane wouldn't have had the choice of having the songs like Country Road unless Geelong, who had finished higher than Brisbane on the ladder, got it. So if Freo make it, they'll be the top seed because they've finished top of the ladder. So they might have Wharfie time, which I reckon would be great if they win their first flag in AFL history.
Gee, we've come a long way from the presidents tossing the coin for the colour of the shorts at the Carbine lunch on the Tuesday, haven't we?